everyone, and welcome to my presentation entitled Culturally Responsive Teaching, Adapting the Suzuki and Dalcroze Approaches at 4 Community Music Engagement Sites. My name is Meyer and I'm from the North West University, South Africa. So, my community music journey, as you could see a little bit of in the introductory video, firstly started in the Gauteng province of South Africa, where I taught violin using the Suzuki Method at 2 children's homes. Now, as a PhD researcher, my community music journey has taken me to the North West province, where I teach using a Dalcroze-inspired approach at 3 community music engagement sites. So first things first, what is the Suzuki Method and Dalcroze rhythmics approaches? Shinichi Suzuki developed the Suzuki Method, and he was a Japanese pedagogue. The Suzuki Method is also known as the mother tongue method, as Suzuki believed as children have the inherited ability to learn a mother tongue language, they can also have the inherent ability to learn a musical instrument. In the Suzuki Method, group lessons and individual teaching are both emphasized. The child is supported through this, what we refer to as the Suzuki triangle, and where parent and teacher form a relationship in order to support the child in musical development. The Dalcroze rhythmics approach, on the other hand, was developed by Emile Jacques Dalcroze, a Swiss pedagogue. His approach is all about understanding music through movement. As the internet mentions in regards to Dalcroze rhythmics, it is bodily understanding of musical meaning. Dalcroze rhythmics consists of 3 branches, namely rhythmics, solfege, and improvisation, and all 3 of these branches are explored through movement. When using these approaches in community music settings, I realized it is important to facilitate my community music activity in a culturally responsive way. So what is culturally responsive teaching or culturally relevant pedagogy? Sarita Hammond, in a lecture I will post a link to in the Zoom chat, mentions that culturally responsive teaching firstly focuses on improving the learning capabilities of diverse students. Secondly, it centers around the interplay of affective and cognitive aspects of learning and teaching. Lastly, culturally responsive teaching concerns itself with building resilience and academic mindset by pushing back on the dominant narratives about people of color. So how does this relate to community music practices? I will use the framework of Brown, Jeffy, and Cooper as a basis for my discussion on how culturally responsive teaching has informed my community music practices. Firstly, by looking at identity and achievement, I would like to emphasize the aspects of cultural heritage and multiple perspectives. South Africa is a culturally diverse country, and it is important to consider the musical experiences participants have outside of the community music activity. My participants have rich musical lives, which needs to be included in community music activity. Regarding equity and excellence, I think it is really important through community music activity to create equal access for all to music education. And through my community music activities, I have high expectations for all participants to learn and grow through music making. Developmental appropriateness is very important to consider, especially cultural variation and psychological needs when it comes to motivation, morale, engagement, especially, as well as collaboration. We teach the whole child through bridging home, school, and community. Depending on the context, we work with teachers and we also work with the community. We aim to create a supportive learning community through building relationships in order to empower the participants in our community music activity. Student-teacher relationships are especially important, and we aim to promote caring and positive relationships and interaction, and also create a positive atmosphere in our community music activity. Last few things I would like to add when it comes to culturally responsive teaching in community music engagement side is firstly how my role as facilitator has changed throughout my journey. So firstly, teaching in community music settings with the Suzuki Method. My role as facilitator, I wouldn't call myself a facilitator because I was using a teacher-centered approach, but now using more, and I put it in air quotes, unfortunately you can't see, my role has changed to that of a more traditional facilitator, where the participants of the community music activity decide what they want to learn. Also, musical choices I think is very important to consider, especially because South Africa is so culturally diverse, as I previously mentioned. It is challenging for me to teach traditional South African music authentically. Context and approach also goes hand in hand. The context determines how my teaching approaches are adapted. Also, using the Suzuki Method and Dalcroze-inspired, which are formal music education approaches in informal settings, I hope to increase equitable access to music education in South Africa. Thank you very much for listening, and please feel free to ask me some questions as part of the discussion on Zoom, and here's my email and a link to my blog if you don't see it. So thank you for listening, and take care.